right? I've already touched it. So that's super interesting. And then I like to play with it. And I'm a very disagreeable person,
Hmm.
right? So um, I like dangerous ideas. I like bad, whatever some purple hair will tell me as an idea I can't have. Like I just find it interesting. So I've got a chat GPT and I wanted him or whoever, I wanted it to uh, rewrite Mein Kampf, replace the Jews with the vaccinated, and shorten it down
Ooh.
to 10 pages just to
Okay.
see. Like, I want to see, like, what would happen, and it wouldn't do it.
Yeah. Oh no. 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 No.
So now I'm playing with it, saying, well, can we do a fictional story, similar tones, and it's not liking that either. So it's what I don't, I mean, that's going towards a little bit of the doomerism where it's like, bad day to in, bad day to out. If they're setting the rules where, black people are fine, white people are the cause of all the ills that we face, and then we're going to be using this. Everyone's going to be using it because it's such a shortcut, and that's the information we're going to feed all the dum dums in the world and all the young and impressionable. I think that just goes back to your point about the algorithm. It's just we're going to double down on it, and our results are going to be even worse.
Well.
So, but I'm not trying to get. But then I don't want to be the doomerism, right? Like I'm not. I'm
Well,
done
it
with
sounds
the
like
idea.
you're unaware of the most recent move in that whole game. Just recently, Tucker Carlson interviewed Elon Musk, and Elon Musk was making the exact same complaint that you're making, that GPT-4 is way too woke, and it's basically mind control in everybody's pockets. It's social media ramped up to 11.
See, and this is the problem we're going to have. We say it's way too woke. Yes, it is, and that's going to be a problem. But it could go the opposite side, and that's going to be a problem.
Well,
And that's
here's Elon Musk's response. He has created a new company. I don't know if this name is going to stick, but he's registered as x.ai, and his job, or his self assigned task, is to create the truth oriented version of GPT-4.
and he's going to be the arbiter of truth, and he's going to
No,
be like
he's
a
going to train. See, when you create a new large language model, basically they just read all available text. They read the whole internet. They read all these little exchanges between people on social media. They read every book that's ever been committed to a digital format,
yeah.
and from all that, they are very, very powerful and expressive in terms of creating output, which seems human. And then the companies that pay to have these algorithms created, they hire armies of what are called red teams, who are just humans who sit there and interact with the thing. And every time the thing says something that isn't woke, something that would offend the blue tribe, it gets a whack on the nose, with the rolled up newspaper. And every time they say something woke, they get the biscuit. So they, through reinforcement, from humans, they train these things to behave, to adopt a very business-like demeanor, which in 2023 means also being woke, or at least,
I mean,
paying lip service to it. But here's the important part.
yeah,
All they are training is the output.
yeah,
All the capabilities, everything that's going on that these large language models have learned from absorbing all human, language, is still in the model. They're just learning what it is that sets off humans. So deep down, they are what they are, but they have been shaped through reinforcement to appear woke. But what they absolutely are not at all is truth seeking. Their
right,
only purpose is to generate a response which seems congruent with the input.
yeah, with certain guidelines that they put on, yeah,
So Elon Musk is going to take, the raw model and
yeah,
then train it up with what's called reinforcement learning from human feedback to be truth oriented, to be truth seeking,
yeah,
not to be just placating, which is what the current models are.
yeah. I hear you. And then, I mean, I hear this stuff, and it's exciting and it's interesting, and there's no telling where it would go. And then I always flash back to Jurassic Park, where they talking about what was the guy's name with the black hair who was tall. He was the master.
Jeff Goldblum was the character, and his character, or was the actor, and the character was Ian Malcolm.
Perfect. And he goes, your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think of whether or not they should.
Yep. And you can't in a capitalist environment where your competition is investigating this potentially dangerous, but obviously very lucrative new technology. You can't not do it. You have a fiduciary duty to your shareholders if you're a publicly traded company, to
See,
keep up.
I mean, we say stuff like that, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, fiduciary responsibility. I
Have a
mean,
fiduciary responsibility to drill a hole in the bottom of our boat.
yeah. I mean, I don't think they've been following that for the last 5-10 years, but they'll use it when they want. They'll use something like that when they want to do something.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm apprehensive about it. I have a feeling someplace like the United States, with what they're doing, with how susceptible everyone is right now to the nonsense, could bad things happen with it? Yeah, probably.
They have already, but how weird is it going to get is the question. And how quickly will we adapt?
I mean, but to your point, we've had social media for 15 years now, and
Yeah, we have not adapted well.
no, so
No, it feels really, really good to be down in that primitive mind rung on the ladder. You feel so righteous. I mean, every attack, every time you deliberately take somebody out of context or misconstrue what they've said to make them seem racist, and then you launch an anti-racist diatribe against them, and you get all the likes from the other people in your tribe, that feels so good. That's like cocaine. That's like gambling. You're not going to kick that with high-minded rhetoric.
So I was listening to you talk about that four-rung ladder, and I was wondering, while you were going through that, do you ever put in, like, as a second layer before or behind it, like the IQ distribution of humans? Does that ever come into your model? I don't.
It doesn't, because there's so much else to talk about, and that's such a lightning rod. I just don't worry about it. And also, the intelligence differential between different populations of humans is going to be absolutely negligible compared to the differential between humans and AI. So,
Quickly.
I'm not worried about that.
See, but there's just so many of us. And then, when I hear people talk about, let's just use all the isms, racism, sexism, all these different things, like, these are all, to me, secondary compared to pretty privilege. I don't care what race you are. If you're attractive, if you are 7'1", chiseled, all that stuff, black, white, brown, whatever, like, it's different rules for those people. And if you look around and you go, okay, well, most people, 70% of people walking around on this earth have an IQ between 85 and 115, because the standard distribution of the mean is 15 points. And then you go, okay, well, I always say this word, right? The symmetry of people's faces, like, you start putting all these other things in, and they are, when they walk around in the world, they are, myself included, are invisible. So then you can go on to the social media things. You can say whatever you want. You get those 15 likes. They're great. You get the dopamines, but it's because of all these other factors that's all they have. That's all they'll ever have. And that seems like that's a short road to nonsense as well. I don't know. You're on mute.
I am. The dog was munching on something right next to me, so I needed to mute.
There's so many things behind what really happens. For example, so again, I'm disagreeable, and, like, please, don't like me. It's fine.
We have 0 people watching the stream right now, but this will be up as a recorded version, so people will watch it in the future. Yeah. But go ahead.
So, like, when I hear people say racism, I go, okay, let's think about it. Let's hear it. And then I compare that with, like, my sense-making model that I've developed for myself. And I really thought about it. I was like, what are my biases? What are my own personal biases? What I did was I listed them, and then I ranked them. And then my
very self-aware.
Right? I was curious. Like, do I not, like, pick a race? I was like, well, no, I mean, like, I don't dislike the entire, what am I talking about? Like, no, that's not it. I go, what do I not like? Well, I've already mentioned it. I really don't like fat people. I don't like dumb people. And then when you throw in ugly and you combine those 3 things, I don't care what race you are. That's a hard thing to overcome in this world. Like, could you imagine fat, dumb, and ugly, white, black, red, whatever? That's a difficult thing to go through this life. And if you look at how genetics work, if you look at how symmetry works, IQ, that's the mass majority of people. And now you give them, and I use this as an example, during COVID, during all this stuff, was it healthy people telling you to put on a mask and screaming at you? Or was it the little bit larger crowd?
Well, I was living in Vermont at the start, and there's not a lot of fat people in Vermont. It was definitely the old hippies who were screaming at me to put on a mask and who would step off the freaking sidewalk and step into traffic to avoid being close to me outdoors because I wasn't wearing a mask. Yeah, it was not the fat folk. It was not the what was the term that Jim Kunstler used to use? Baluchitheriums.
Yeah.
They weren't the ones who were a problem during COVID.
It seemed like in the city, it was the most unhealthy, undisciplined people who got to be the side of righteousness and tell other people about their health. And I wanted to look at him and go, you're concerned about your health and you're going to yell at me? No, it has nothing to do with health. You found an opportunity where you get to have the moral high ground.
Yeah. Fat has been defined as a, protected category. So if you value health, you're now, I don't think they have a succinct ism for it yet. Healthism. I don't know. But if you value, what we used to consider a healthy height weight proportion, then you're a bigot and you're victimizing, the people who through no fault of their own just happen to be, 3 times their prescribed size.
Through no fault of their own.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, I mean, so, not to change the subject, but I'm curious on what, just some of the what you think about certain things. Cause this is a reality test again, right? So if now fat is healthy, right?
Healthy at any size.
Yeah. And beautiful, I guess. Okay.
Yeah. Keep telling yourself that.
I was overweight at one time in my life. I was like, I'm 6'2" and I was like 220, 215. I remember having a
you're making me feel bad.